Captain Hyunwoo stared at the massive alien space station through the bridge window. Nexus 7 looked like a giant metal flower floating in space. Its arms stretched out in all directions, each one bigger than his entire ship. The UES Determination was just a tiny dot next to it. "First time seeing a Valkyrie station, Captain?" asked So-young, his chief medical officer. She stood beside him, also looking at the huge structure. "Yes, and hopefully not the last," Hyunwoo replied. "We need to make a good impression. Earth is counting on us to build better relationships with the alien races out here." The Determination was on a simple mission. They were supposed to pick up supplies, meet with some alien traders, and gather information about this part of space. It was routine work, but important. Humans were still new to this area of the galaxy. "Sir, the station is giving us permission to dock," said Ji-won from her position at the communications desk. She was young, but very good at her job. "They want us to use docking bay 7. "Thank you, Ji-won. Taemin, make sure our security team is ready but not obvious. We want to look friendly, not threatening." Taemin nodded. He was the security chief and took his job very seriously. "Yes, sir. My people will be ready for anything." The docking process took 30 minutes. The alien technology was different from human systems, but they managed to connect safely. Hyunwoo had studied the Valkyrie for weeks before this mission. They were tall, thin creatures with 6 arms and gray skin. They were supposed to be very smart and logical. When the airlock opened, a Valkyrie official was waiting for them. He was taller than any human, and his 6 arms moved in a way that seemed like dancing. His name was Vextarion, and he was the station commander. "Welcome, humans," Vextarion said in perfect English. "We are pleased to have you visit our station. I hope your stay will be profitable for both our species." Hyunwoo stepped forward and offered his hand. The alien looked at it for a moment, then shook it with one of his 6 hands. "Thank you for having us, Commander. We look forward to learning more about your people and this region of space." The meeting went well. Vextarion showed them around the main areas of the station. There were hundreds of different alien species walking around, buying and selling things, eating strange foods, and talking in languages Hyunwoo had never heard before. "Your station is amazing," So-young said as they walked through a market area. "I've never seen so many different species in one place." "Nexus 7 is one of the most important trading stations in this sector," Vextarion replied proudly. "We serve over 40 different species. Commerce brings peace to the galaxy." They spent the morning touring the station and meeting other aliens. Everything seemed normal and friendly. But something was bothering Ji-won. She kept checking her communication device and frowning. During lunch, she finally spoke up. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange signals." "What kind of signals?" Hyunwoo asked. "They're very weak and on frequencies that aren't supposed to be used." "But, sir..." She looked nervous. "I think I heard voices speaking Korean and English." The table went quiet. There shouldn't be any other humans in this area of space. The Determination was the first human ship to visit this sector. "Are you sure?" So-young asked. "I'm not completely sure, but I've been listening for 2 hours now. The signals come from somewhere deep in the station, in areas we haven't seen." Hyunwoo thought carefully. "Commander Vextarion, are there other humans on this station?" The alien's expression changed slightly. "No, Captain, your ship is the first human vessel to visit us. Why do you ask?" "Our communications officer is picking up what might be human voices." "That is impossible," Vextarion said quickly. "Your equipment must be malfunctioning. The lower levels of the station are restricted anyway. They contain only research facilities and storage areas." Something in the way he said it made Hyunwoo suspicious. "What kind of research?" "Biological studies. Very boring technical work. Nothing that would interest you." After lunch, Vextarion excused himself and left them alone. The human crew gathered in a quiet corner of the station. "Sir, those signals are definitely human voices," Ji-won whispered. "And they're coming from the restricted areas." "Could be recordings or broadcasts from Earth," Taemin suggested. "No," Ji-won shook her head. "These are live transmissions, real-time communications. And sir, some of the voices sound very young." So Young looked worried. Young? How young? Like children, ma'am. The crew exchanged glances. This was very strange and very concerning. There was no reason for human children to be on an alien space station in the middle of nowhere. Taemin, can your people get us into those restricted areas without being noticed? Hyunwoo asked. It won't be easy, sir, but yes. The Velkari seem to rely mostly on electronic locks and warning signs. They don't seem to expect anyone to actually try to break in. Do it. But be very careful. We don't want to start a war over a misunderstanding. That night, while most of the station was sleeping, Taemin and 2 of his security people made their way to the lower levels. They moved carefully, avoiding the few aliens who were still awake. The restricted area was several levels down from the main station. The security locks were tricky but not impossible to bypass. Human technology was different from Velkari systems, which actually made it easier to find weaknesses. As they went deeper into the station, the signals on Ji-won's equipment got stronger. The voices were definitely human, and they were definitely children. Finally, they found a heavily guarded door marked with symbols that roughly translated to biological research, authorized personnel only. Behind the door, they could hear the faint sound of machinery and something else. Crying. Taemin carefully opened the door and looked inside. What he saw made his blood run cold. The room was full of glass containers, each one filled with some kind of liquid. And floating in each container was a human child, unconscious but alive. Tubes and wires connected them to machines that beeped and hummed. There were dozens of them, boys and girls all between the ages of 6 and 14. Their skin was pale, and they looked sick, but they were breathing. "Dear God," whispered one of Taemin's men. Taemin quickly counted the containers. 37 children, all human, all unconscious, all prisoners. He activated his communicator. "Captain, you need to get down here right now and bring So Young. We're going to need a doctor." "What did you find?" "Sir, we found the source of those signals. And Captain, they took our children. The aliens took human children." The silence on the communicator lasted for several seconds. When Hyunwoo finally spoke, his voice was different, colder. "We're on our way. Guard that room with your life, Taemin. Nobody gets in or out until we figure out what's happening here." As Taemin waited for his captain to arrive, he looked at the sleeping children and felt something he had never felt before. It was a mixture of rage, horror, and determination that seemed to burn in his chest. Somewhere in the station, aliens were going about their normal business, probably thinking the humans were just another trading partner. They had no idea that everything was about to change. The children floated in their prison tanks, unaware that rescue had finally arrived. But rescue was just the beginning. First, the humans had to find out why this had happened. Then, they would decide what to do about it. So Young had seen many terrible things in her years as a military doctor, but nothing had prepared her for this. She moved from tank to tank, checking the vital signs of each sleeping child. Her hands shook as she worked. "They're alive," she told Captain Hyunwoo. "Weak but alive. These machines are keeping them in some kind of deep sleep. It's like they're in suspended animation, but not quite." Hyunwoo stood in the center of the room, his face white with anger. "How long have they been like this? Hard to say without better equipment, maybe weeks, maybe months." So Young pointed to one of the tanks. "This boy here looks like he's been awake more recently than the others. See how his brain activity is different?" The boy she was pointing to looked about 12 years old. His black hair floated around his face in the liquid, and his eyes moved under his closed eyelids like he was dreaming. "Can you wake him up safely?" Hyunwoo asked. "I think so. But sir, we should be prepared for anything. He might be very scared or confused." Ji-won was working at a computer terminal on the far side of the room. "Captain, I'm finding records here. These children, they're from the colony ships that went missing in the Kepler sector. The Harmony, the New Dawn, and the Bright Star," Taemin said grimly. 3 ships, over 200 families. The authorities said they probably had engine failures in deep space. "No engine failures," Ji-won said, her voice getting angry. They were attacked. The Velkari took them. So Young carefully began the process of waking up the 12-year-old boy. She had to guess how the alien machines worked, but medical equipment was similar across most species. Slowly, the boy's breathing changed and his eyes started to move more. After 20 minutes, his eyes opened. He looked around in panic, then saw the humans and started to cry. "It's okay," So Young said gently. "We're here to help you. You're safe now." The boy tried to speak but started coughing instead. So Young gave him some water and waited for him to calm down. "What's your name?" she asked. "Minho," the boy whispered. "Minho Park. Are you really human? Are you real?" "Yes, we're real. We're from Earth." "How did you get here, Minho?" The boy's face went pale. "The gray ones with many arms. They came to our ship. They said they needed to take some of us for tests. They took all the children first." Hyunwoo knelt down next to the boy. "What happened to your parents?" "I don't know." Minho started crying again. "They put us to sleep. When I woke up, I was here. Sometimes they wake me up and ask me questions. Strange questions about how I think and feel." "What kind of questions?" So Young asked. "They want to know how I solve problems. They show me puzzles and watch my brain with machines. They say humans think differently than other species. They want to understand how." Ji-won looked up from the computer. "Captain, there are more files here. This isn't the only facility. They have 16 other stations like this one." 16? Hyunwoo's voice was deadly quiet. "Yes, sir. And according to these records, they've taken over 3,000 human children in the past 2 years." The room went silent except for the humming of the machines. 3,000 children, stolen from their families and used as test subjects by aliens who thought they were doing scientific research. "Why children?" Taemin asked. "Why not adults?" Minho answered before anyone else could. "They said children's brains are easier to study. We haven't learned to hide our thoughts yet. They can see how we really think." The door to the room suddenly opened. 4 Velkari entered, led by one wearing what looked like a doctor's coat. He had the same gray skin and 6 arms as the others, but his eyes were different. Colder. "You are not authorized to be in this facility," the lead Velkari said calmly. "Please leave immediately." Hyunwoo stood up slowly. "I'm Captain Hyunwoo of the UES Determination. These are human children. You kidnapped them." "Kidnapped is an incorrect term," the alien replied. "These subjects were acquired for legitimate scientific research. I am Dr. Kelvanos, chief researcher for this project." "Subjects?" So Young stood up, her face red with anger. "These are children, not laboratory animals." "The distinction is irrelevant," Dr. Kelvanos said. "These young humans possess unique neural patterns that could benefit all species in the galaxy. Their temporary discomfort serves a greater purpose." "Temporary discomfort?" Hyunwoo stepped closer to the alien. "You stole children from their families and put them in tanks like fish." "Their families were compensated," the doctor said, as if that made everything acceptable. "The colonies received valuable technology and resources in exchange." "The families didn't know," Minho said weakly. "They told our parents we were going to special schools." Dr. Kelvanos looked annoyed. "The specific details of the arrangement are not important. What matters is the advancement of galactic science." Taemin moved his hand closer to his weapon, but Hyunwoo held up a hand to stop him. "Doctor, let me make sure I understand this correctly," Hyunwoo said. "You stole thousands of human children from their families, lied to their parents, and have been experimenting on them for 2 years? We have been studying their cognitive processes, yes. Human creativity and problem-solving abilities are unique in the galaxy. By understanding how human brains work, we can enhance the intelligence of other species, by torturing children, by conducting necessary research. The subjects are well cared for. They receive proper nutrition and medical attention." So Young looked at the tanks around them. "You call this proper care? They're unconscious and alone." "Consciousness during testing would interfere with accurate readings," Dr. Kelvanos explained patiently. We wake them only when necessary for specific experiments. Jiwon had been quietly working at the computer during this conversation. Now she spoke up. Captain, I've downloaded all their research files. Everything about this project, including the locations of the other facilities. Excellent work, Jiwon. Dr. Kelvano suddenly looked worried. You cannot remove that data. It is classified Velkari research. And these children are human citizens, Hyunwoo replied. We're taking them home. That is not acceptable. The research is not complete. These subjects are crucial to our work. These subjects are children with names and families who miss them. Your emotional attachment to your offspring is exactly what we are studying, Dr. Kelvano said. Most intelligent species do not form such strong bonds with their young. It is fascinating but illogical. Illogical? So Young stared at the alien in disbelief. Caring about children is illogical? Of course, children are simply the next generation. Individuals are less important than the advancement of the species as a whole. Minho grabbed Hyunwoo's hand. Captain, there are other human children here. In different rooms. Some of them have been here longer than me. How many? Hyunwoo asked. Maybe 100 in this place. But the gray one said there are many more in other places. Hyunwoo looked at Dr. Kelvanos. We want all of them. Every human child in every facility. That is impossible. The research must continue. The research is over, Hyunwoo said. And doctor, you just made the biggest mistake in Velkari history. I do not understand. You took our children. You hurt our children. And you think that's acceptable because it serves science? Yes, exactly. You do understand. Hyunwoo smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. No, doctor. You don't understand. You have no idea what you've just done. The captain activated his communicator. This is Captain Hyunwoo to all human ships and colonies. Priority Alpha emergency message. The Velkari Empire has been kidnapping and experimenting on human children for 2 years. I repeat, they have taken our children. Dr. Kelvanos looked confused. Why are you informing other humans? This is a matter for diplomatic discussion. Because, Doctor, you're about to learn something very important about human nature. We don't negotiate when someone hurts our children. As the captain's message spread across human space, carried by communication relays and trading ships, something began to happen that the galaxy had never seen before. Humans everywhere, from the smallest colony to the largest city, received the same news at almost the same time, and they all had the same reaction. The message reached Earth's capital 12 hours after Captain Hyunwoo sent it. Admiral Dong Hyun was eating breakfast when his aide burst into his office. Sir, you need to see this immediately. The aide played the recording. As Dong Hyun listened, his face changed from confusion to horror to cold rage. By the time the message ended, he was already reaching for his communicator. Get me the Prime Minister. Now. And contact every fleet commander in human space. Emergency meeting in 1 hour. Within 6 hours, every human government had received the evidence, the pictures of children in tanks, the research files, the testimonies, the proof that an alien empire had been stealing human children for experiments. The response was immediate and universal. On Mars, Governor Yu Jin stood before the Colonial Assembly. They took our children, she said simply. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have is now part of one mission. We bring our children home. Europa Station, Commander Sungmin addressed his engineering crews. I want every civilian ship converted to military use. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, mining vessels, everything. If it can fly, it can fight. In the asteroid belt, Captain Ok-sun came out of retirement. She was 90 years old and had sworn never to fight again after the colony wars. But when she saw the pictures of the children, she climbed back into her old destroyer and called her former crew. One more mission, she told them. The most important mission of our lives. The Velkari Empire had been watching human space for signs of military buildup. They had sophisticated spy networks and early warning systems, but nothing had prepared, them for what they saw now. Every human military base activated at the same time. Every shipyard began working around the clock. Every colony started producing weapons and supplies. It wasn't just the military responding. It was every human everywhere. Ambassador Quinn Thelos, the Velkari diplomat on Earth, requested an emergency meeting with the human government. He arrived at the Capitol building confident that this could be resolved through normal diplomatic channels. The Velkari Empire regrets any misunderstanding, he began. We are prepared to discuss compensation for the temporary inconvenience to your species. Prime Minister Harin looked at him across the table. Compensation? Yes. The research subjects were well treated, and the scientific knowledge gained will benefit all species. We can offer technology transfers or resource allocations to resolve this matter. Research subjects, Harin repeated slowly. You mean the 3,000 human children you kidnapped? The children were acquired through legitimate agreements with colonial authorities, agreements that the parents knew nothing about. The specific details of colonial administration are not our concern. We dealt with the proper authorities. Harin stood up. Ambassador, let me explain something to you. Those children have names, they have families, they have parents who have been searching for them for 2 years. Your emotional attachment to individual offspring is noted in our research. It is an interesting characteristic of your species. Interesting? Harin's voice got dangerous. You think our love for our children is just an interesting characteristic? Of course. Most advanced species understand that individuals matter less than the collective good. I see. And what would the collective good be in this situation? The continuation of the research, obviously. The knowledge gained could enhance the cognitive abilities of dozens of species. Harin walked to the window and looked out at the city below. Everywhere she could see, people were preparing for war. Factories that had been making civilian goods were now producing weapons. Ships that had been carrying trade goods were being converted to carry soldiers. Ambassador, do you know what humans do when someone threatens our children? You file diplomatic protests and request negotiations like any civilized species. No, Harin said quietly. We don't. The first human battle groups started moving, within 72 hours. But they weren't moving toward Velkari space in the organized, predictable way that military forces usually moved. Instead, they were moving like a swarm. Fleet Admiral Kang Ho commanded the largest group of ships. He had under his command not just the regular navy, but hundreds of converted civilian vessels. Cargo ships with missile launchers welded to their hulls, passenger liners filled with soldiers instead of tourists, mining ships equipped with military, shields and weapons. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the Velkari are requesting communication. Put them through. A Velkari military commander appeared on the screen. Human fleet, you are approaching Velkari territory without authorization. State your intentions. Our intentions are simple, Kang Ho replied. We want our children back. This matter should be resolved through diplomatic channels. We tried diplomacy. Your people said our children were research subjects and the experiments needed to continue. Surely we can reach a reasonable compromise. Here's our compromise, Kang Ho said. Give us back every human child in every facility alive and unharmed. Do it now. That is not acceptable. The research represents years of work and enormous investment. Then we'll come and take them. You would start a war over a few hundred subjects. Kang Ho smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. A few hundred? Commander, you took 3,000 of our children, and yes, we'll start a war over every single one of them. The communication ended. The Velkari commander stared at his screen, in confusion. What kind of species would risk everything for a few thousand individuals? He was about to find out. The human fleets didn't attack military targets first, like a normal invasion force would. Instead, they did something the Velkari had never seen before. They went straight for the research facilities. Captain Taimin, now commanding his own ship, led the assault on Research Station Beta 7. His orders were simple. Secure the children first, everything else second. Sir, the station is surrendering, his communications officer reported. Accepted. But we board anyway. We need to make sure the children are safe. The Velkari station commander met them at the airlock. This is highly irregular. We surrendered. You should accept our surrender and negotiate terms. Where are the human children? Taman asked. In the research levels, but they cannot be moved safely. The equipment maintaining their life support is very complex. We brought our own doctors. Show us to them. Now. As they moved through the station, the Velkari commander kept talking. I must protest this violation of accepted military protocol. Surrendered facilities should not be boarded by hostile forces. Hostile forces? Taman stopped walking. Commander, you've been experimenting on children for 2 years. We're not hostile forces. We're rescue workers. The subjects were treated, well within the parameters of the research. The subjects have names. They have families. They have parents who cry themselves to sleep every night wondering where their children are. Your species' emotional responses are precisely what makes this research so valuable. Taman looked at the alien for a long moment. You still don't get it, do you? Get what? You hurt our children. That changes everything. They found 47 human children in the facility, all alive, all in the same kind of tanks they had found at Nexus 7. As human doctors worked to safely wake them up, Taman received reports from other assault teams. Station after station was surrendering or being taken. The Velkari military was putting up resistance, but it was confused and disorganized. They had expected a normal war, with clear objectives and rational strategies. Instead, they were facing something they had never encountered before. An entire species united by rage. The Velkari had studied dozens of intelligent species. They understood territorial disputes, resource conflicts, and political wars. But they had never seen anything like this. On Velkari Prime, the capital world, emergency. Meetings were being held around the clock. Military advisors tried to explain to the government what was happening. The humans are not following standard military doctrine, General Vex Karios reported. They're not trying to capture territory or destroy our infrastructure. They're only interested in the research facilities. How many facilities have they taken? Asked the Prime Council leader. All of them, sir. Every single research station in our territory has either surrendered or been captured. And our military response? Ineffective? Sir, every time we mass forces to defend a position, they attack somewhere else. They seem to know exactly where every facility is located. How is that possible? They captured all our research data from the first station. They know everything about the project. The council leader was quiet for a moment. What are our casualties? Surprisingly, light, sir. The humans seem to be avoiding unnecessary killing. They disable our ships and stations rather than destroying them. That makes no sense. If they wanted to damage our empire, they would target our industrial centers and military bases. Sir, I don't think they want to damage our empire. I think they just want their children back. All this for a few thousand research subjects? Yes, sir. The council leader found this impossible to understand. The Velkari were logical, rational beings. They made decisions based on cost and benefit. The idea of risking everything for a few thousand individuals was completely alien to them, which was exactly why they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had assumed that humans thought like they did. Meanwhile, in human space, Strategic Commander Harin stood in the war room aboard the command ship, looking at a holographic map of Velkari space. Red dots marked the locations of research facilities. Green dots showed human forces. In just 2 weeks, almost all the red dots had turned green. Ma'am, we've rescued 847 children so far, reported her aide, Lieutenant Boram. All alive, though many need medical treatment. And the remaining facilities? Intelligence suggests there are still 12 active sites, but they're deeper in Velkari territory, heavily defended. Harin nodded. The easy targets were gone. Now came the hard part. What's the status of the Velkari military response? Confused, ma'am. They keep trying to engage our main fleets in traditional space battles, but we're not fighting a traditional war. No, we're not, Harin agreed. We're fighting a rescue mission that happens to involve destroying anyone who gets in our way. The door to the war room opened, and Science Officer Jae-hyun entered carrying a tablet. Commander, you need to see this. We've been analyzing the technology we've captured from the research stations. What did you find? The Velkari weren't just studying our children's minds, they were trying to copy them. Harin looked up sharply. Copy them? Yes, ma'am. They've been attempting to transfer human neural patterns into artificial brains. They want to mass-produce human creativity and problem-solving ability. For what purpose? According to their files, they plan to create an army of artificial beings with human-level intelligence but Velkari loyalty. Perfect soldiers who could think like humans but obey like machines. The room went silent. This wasn't just about scientific research anymore. The Velkari had been planning to weaponize stolen human consciousness. How close were they to success? Harin asked. Very close, ma'am. Maybe 6 months away from a working prototype. Harin felt a cold anger settle in her chest. Change of orders. We're not just rescuing children anymore. We're making sure this technology never exists. Meanwhile, on Velkari Prime, Dr. Kelvanos was meeting with the military leadership. He had been brought from the captured research station to explain the strategic value of the project. You must understand, he told the assembled officers, this research represents the future of warfare. Human neural patterns could revolutionize military intelligence. General Vex Karios looked skeptical. At what cost? The humans have mobilized their entire species against us. A temporary setback. Once we complete the neural transfer technology, we can create unlimited copies of human strategic thinking without needing actual humans. The humans seem determined to prevent that. The humans are emotional creatures. They cannot sustain this level of military effort indefinitely. Their economy will collapse. Their people will grow tired of war. Doctor, their economy isn't collapsing. It's growing. Every human factory is working at full capacity. Every human colony is contributing resources. We've never seen anything like it. Dr. Kelvanos waved a dismissive hand. Impossible. No species can maintain total war footing without significant internal dissent. These can. Our intelligence reports show 0 anti-war movements in human space, 0 protests, 0 resistance to military mobilization. They're completely unified. Temporarily unified. The emotion will fade. What Dr. Kelvanos didn't understand was that human emotions didn't fade when children were involved. They got stronger. Captain Minsu was leading the assault on Research Station Gamma 12, one of the most heavily defended facilities. His ship, the Retribution, was a converted cargo hauler, but it had been upgraded with the latest human military technology. Sir, the station is requesting surrender terms, his communications officer reported. Standard terms, unconditional surrender, full access to all facilities, complete cooperation with rescue operations. Sir, they're saying they need time to safely extract the research subjects from the experimental equipment. Minsu's expression darkened. They're stalling. Tell them they have 30 minutes to begin the extraction process or we board the station. Sir, they claim the process takes at least 6 hours to do safely. Then they should have started 6 hours ago. The human boarding parties that hit the Velkari stations were unlike anything the aliens had ever faced. They moved with the precision of elite military units but with the desperation of parents searching for their children. When they found the research labs, they worked with impossible speed to free the children. Human doctors had learned to reverse the Velkari procedures in minutes instead of hours. Human engineers had figured out how to safely shut down alien life support systems without harming the patients. The Velkari researchers watched in amazement as humans disassembled complex alien technology like they had built it themselves. How are they learning our system so quickly? One researcher asked Dr. Kelvanos. They're not supposed to be able to, he replied, studying the humans working in his laboratory. Our technology is completely different from theirs. It should take weeks to understand these systems. But the humans weren't just understanding Velkari technology. They were improving it. Engineer Sung Min had been captured at one of the research stations, and now he was being interrogated by Velkari intelligence officers. How did you modify our stasis systems so quickly? They demanded. Your systems are inefficient, Sungmin replied calmly. You use 3 separate power sources where one would work better. You have redundant safety systems that actually create more danger than they prevent. Impossible. These systems were designed by our best scientists. Your best scientists never had to work under pressure. We're rescuing our children. That changes everything. You cannot improve technology you have never seen before. Watch us. And they did watch in growing amazement and fear as humans took Velkari technology and made it better in real time. Weapons that had taken Velkari scientists years to develop were reverse-engineered and improved by human engineers in days. But the humans weren't just copying Velkari technology. They were learning from it and creating new technologies that the Velkari had never imagined. Captain So Young, now commanding a medical ship, reported her findings to the Fleet Command. We've rescued 400 children from the last 6 facilities, but we've discovered something else. What is it? Asked Admiral Kang Ho. The Velkari have been sharing this technology with other species. The research data shows cooperation agreements with at least 12 other alien empires. Cooperation agreements for what? Neural transfer technology. They're all working together to copy human consciousness. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just about the Velkari Empire. Multiple alien species had been involved in kidnapping and experimenting on human children. Admiral Kang Ho called an emergency meeting of all human fleet commanders. The situation has changed. This isn't just about one alien empire. It's about a galactic conspiracy to exploit humanity. What are our orders, sir? Asked Captain Hyun-woo, participating via communication from his ship near the outer Velkari. Systems. New mission parameters. We find every species involved in this conspiracy. We destroy every research facility. We rescue every human being held anywhere in galaxy. Sir, that could mean war with half the known galaxy. Then that's what it means. Back on Velkari Prime, the government was beginning to understand the scope of their mistake. Reports were coming in from across their territory. Human forces weren't just rescuing children anymore. They were systematically destroying every piece of research related to neural transfer technology. They're not just taking back their people, reported General Vex Karios. They're ensuring that no one can continue this research. But the knowledge still exists, the council leader protested. The scientists who worked on the project are still alive. Not all of them, sir. The humans have been very thorough. Are you saying they're killing our scientists? No, sir. They're recruiting them. Recruiting them? Yes, sir. They're offering our researchers the choice between prison for crimes against children or working for humanity to develop defenses against neural transfer technology. And they're accepting. Most of them, yes, the humans are very persuasive when they explain what will happen to anyone who continues this research. The council leader stared at the reports in front of him. In less than a month, the humans had not only rescued their children, but had turned the Velkari Empire's greatest scientific achievement into their own weapon. How is this possible? He asked. They're just one species. We have alliances with dozens of others. Sir, our allies are reconsidering their positions. The humans have made it very clear that anyone involved in the neural transfer project will be considered an enemy of humanity. And, sir, no one wants to be an enemy of humanity right now. The reports from the battlefields were unlike anything in galactic history. The humans didn't fight like any other species. They fought like they had nothing to lose and everything to gain. But more than that, they fought like they were personally responsible for every child that had been taken. Dr. Kelvanos sat in his cell aboard a human prison ship, writing his final research notes. He had been captured during the assault on his laboratory, and now he was being taken to Earth for trial. But what confused him wasn't his capture. It was the humans themselves. They don't act like conquerors, he wrote. They act like parents. Every decision, every strategy, every battle plan. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their seats, all looking at the humans who had requested this emergency session. Ambassador In-ho walked to the center of the chamber, followed by representatives from every human colony and military command. Behind them came a group that made everyone in the room shift uncomfortably. The children. Min Ho, now healthy and strong after 2 months of recovery, walked beside Ambassador In Ho. With him were 12 other children who had been rescued from the Velkari research facilities. They were all between 8 and 15 years old, and they looked around the chamber with the fearless curiosity of young humans. Honored representatives, In Ho began, we are here to discuss the future of galactic civilization. The Velkari representative, Ambassador Zethlanos, stood up. The Velkari Empire wishes to formally apologize for the unauthorized research conducted on human subjects. We are prepared to offer substantial compensation and guarantee that such activities will never be repeated. In Ho looked at him for a moment. Sit down, Ambassador. You'll speak when we give you permission. This is highly irregular. The Velkari Empire is a founding member of the Galactic Council. The Velkari Empire no longer exists, In Ho said calmly. It was dissolved last week when your government surrendered unconditionally to human forces. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. The dissolution of an entire galactic empire was unprecedented. The representative from the Centauri Alliance spoke up. Ambassador In Ho, surely this matter can be resolved through traditional diplomatic channels. Traditional diplomatic channels failed to protect our children, In Ho replied. So we created new diplomatic channels. You mean military conquest. We mean rescue operations, though I admit the difference might be hard to see from the outside. Min Ho stepped forward. Many of the alien representatives had never seen a human child before, and they watched him with fascination and unease. My name is Min Ho Park, the boy said clearly. I was 12 years old when the gray aliens took me from my family's ship. They kept me in a tank full of liquid for 8 months. They woke me up only when they wanted to study my brain. The chamber was completely silent now. They asked me questions about how I think and feel. They watched my brain with machines while I solved puzzles. They told me I was helping science. Min Ho looked around the chamber, making eye contact with different alien representatives. I want you all to know that I wasn't helping science. I was being tortured, and so were 3,000 other human children. The boy's voice never wavered, but several of the adult aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The humans who rescued us aren't angry because we're human, Min Ho continued. They're angry because we're children. Any children. If you had taken Centauri children or Andorian children, they would have done the same thing. Ambassador In Ho nodded. Min Ho speaks the truth. We are here to establish new rules for galactic civilization. Rules that protect the young of all species. He activated a holographic display that showed documents and images. We call these the Children's Accords. Every species in this chamber will sign them before leaving today. The Andromedian representative, Counselor Vex Theron, looked at the documents. These accords grant humans extraordinary authority to investigate and prosecute crimes against children anywhere in the galaxy. Yes, they do. No sovereign species will accept such restrictions on their authority, In Ho smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Counselor, let me explain something to you. 3 months ago, the Velkari Empire controlled over 200 star systems. Today, those systems are under human administration. You conquered them. We liberated them. Every species in former Velkari territory has requested human protection. Do you know why? Tell us. Because we don't just protect human children. We protect all children. The display changed to show images from the liberated Velkari worlds. Human soldiers working alongside alien civilians. Human doctors treating alien children. Human teachers setting up schools for dozens of different species. In every system we've taken control of, child mortality has dropped by 60%. Education funding has increased by 400%. Child labor has been completely eliminated. The Syrian representative, Ambassador Koldarian, spoke up. This is all very admirable, but you cannot expect every species to accept human authority over their internal affairs. We're not asking for authority over your internal affairs, In Ho replied. We're demanding authority over crimes against children. The difference is important. And if we refuse? Admiral Dong Hyun, who had been standing quietly behind the diplomatic delegation stepped forward. Then you become enemies of humanity. That sounds like a threat. It's not a threat. It's an explanation of consequences. The chamber erupted in angry voices as different representatives began arguing with each other. Some supported the human position, others opposed it, and many seemed terrified of the implications. Inho raised his hand for silence. Perhaps some of you don't understand the situation clearly. Let me help you. The holographic display changed again, now showing a map of the galaxy. Human-controlled territory was marked in blue. It covered nearly 30% of known space. 3 months ago, humanity controlled 12 star systems. Today, we control over 300. We didn't conquer them. They asked us to protect them. Why? Asked the Centauri representative. Because we do something that no other species in this galaxy does. We put the welfare of children above everything else. Above profit, above politics, above convenience. Ambassador Quinn Thalos, the former Velkari diplomat, stood up slowly. He looked much older than he had 3 months ago. The humans are correct. My people made a terrible mistake. We thought their emotional attachment to their offspring was a weakness. And now? Asked the Andromedian counselor. Now I understand that it's their greatest strength. They will sacrifice anything to protect their young. Anything. Minho spoke. Again. The gray aliens thought they were smarter than humans because they didn't let emotions affect their decisions. But they were wrong. Emotions make humans stronger, not weaker. How so? Asked the Syrian ambassador. Because when someone hurts our families, we don't calculate costs and benefits. We don't worry about profit margins or political consequences. We just act. The boy looked around the chamber again. And we don't stop acting until the problem is solved. Ambassador Inho nodded. The Children's Accords are not a request. They are a statement of reality. Humanity will protect children throughout the galaxy, with or without your cooperation. But cooperation would be better for everyone. Elder diplomat Sunja, who had been silent until now, stood up. She was 95 years old and had been representing humanity in diplomatic meetings for over 60 years. I have been in galactic politics for most of my life, she said. I have seen wars over territory, resources, trade routes, and ideology. But I have never seen anything like what happened when you took our children. What do you mean? Asked the Centauri representative. You united humanity completely. Every human colony, every human ship, every human government agreed on one thing. Bring the children home. Surely there was some dissent? None. Zero. For the first time in human history, our entire species had exactly the same goal. Sunja looked around the chamber. Do you understand what that means? A species of 8 billion individuals spread across hundreds of worlds, all working together with perfect unity. That's impossible. We thought so too. But it happened. And it happened because you threatened our children. The chamber was quiet again as the implications sank in. The Children's Accords will prevent this from happening again, Sunja continued. Not just to human children, but to all children. Because we've learned something about ourselves. What have you learned? We've learned that when children are in danger, we become something different, something focused and determined and completely ruthless. We've learned that there is no force in the universe more dangerous than someone protecting their children. Captain Hyunwoo, now promoted to admiral, stepped forward. The human protection fleet is now operational in 30 sectors. Our mission is simple. Ensure that no child of any species is ever again treated as a research subject or experimental material. What if a species refuses to cooperate? Asked the Andromedian counselor. Then they become our problem to solve. And how do you solve such problems? Admiral Hyunwoo looked at the alien representative for a long moment. Very thoroughly. The voting on the Children's Accords was unanimous. Not because every species agreed with them, but because every species understood the consequences of disagreement. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, many of them were talking quietly among themselves. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one had predicted. The humans had not just rescued their children. They had established themselves as the protectors of all children everywhere. Minho walked with Ambassador Inho as they left the chamber. "Sir, do you think the other species will really follow the new rules?" "Some will follow them because they agree with them," Inho replied. "Others will follow them because they're afraid not to. And if they don't follow them at all?" Inho smiled, down at the boy. "Then we'll remind them why they should." 6 months later, former Station Commander Vex Tarion was working in a